3.5. This is the extended version of Vlog 6, Strange Fruit by Lillian Smith. My favorite quote is Black Boy on page 114. Black boy and white boy stood there in the darkness watching the grown folks' trouble, and slowly Henry turned and went into the cabin, and slowly Tracy went to the big yellow house. My question is this book about racism, or is it about ethnicity? Basically, this story has 5 major characters: Nani and Bess Anderson and their brother Ed Anderson, Tracy, Dean, and Henry. Nani and Bess are servants living in Mrs. Brown's house. They are African American. Tracy is Nani's boyfriend. He is white. And Henry is African American. There is also Dorothy, who is one of Tracy's girlfriends. The book starts out where Nani is a servant slave, and she is pregnant. Nat Ashley and Tracy Dean are boys in the neighborhood. Ed Anderson is a black man. He is Nani's brother. Ed runs into Tracy when he is walking home. Tracy is a boy. He wants Nani to come with him. Their mother has recently died. She is buried in Maxwell, Georgia. The story flashes back to 15 years ago when Nani is 15 and in a shack with Tracy Dean. Bess is watching through a crack in the wall. Tracy Dean is 21. Bess and Nani's mom is named Tilly. Their mom Tilly kills a cottonmouth rattlesnake while they are farming okra. Ed has just come home and wants to have a party called a fish fry. He wants to take his sister away from Maxwell, which is their hometown. This story is narrated from the point of view of Bess, who sees what is happening in her family. Nan is trying to hide the fact that she is pregnant from a white man named Tracy Dean. In Chapter 4, the narration changes to Tracy's point of view. After visiting Nani the night before, he takes a girl named Dottie, or Dorothy, to the church. Tracy served in the army. He has memories of being in Marseille, France during the war, and he realized at the time that he loves and misses Nani. He had a sister named Laura. She is also home from college. His parents are named Alma and Tut. Nani was waiting for him when he returned from his two years of driving trucks in the army. They have a secret meeting place in the woods called Aunt Tice's deserted cabin. It is there that they meet and dance and talk. Then Tracy goes home for the night. He has breakfast with his parents and his sister Laura. They have a butler named Henry. Alma, who is Tracy's mom, is having trouble accepting the fact that her children are adults and almost have lives of their own. After breakfast, Tracy goes to see Brother Dunwood, who is a preacher. The preacher tries to convince Tracy that he needs God. He warns him about the sin of gambling. Tracy is torn between his love for Nani and the expectations of his mother. He feels ashamed that he is going out and dating an African-American girl. The town has been pressuring him to marry Dorothy. Tracy goes to visit Henry. He asks Henry, who is African-American, why he goes to church, and Henry tells him he goes to church to find a girl. Henry is a servant at Tracy's house and lives in the cabin in his backyard. Henry's parents are Mammy and Ten McIntosh. Mammy used to cook for the Deans. Mammy also helped raise both Tracy and Henry. The story flashes back to when Tracy and Henry were just children. A girl was riding her bike toward the boys, and Henry got in her way, and she fell over. For this, Henry received a whipping from his mother, Mammy. Henry's father, named Ten, disagrees with the whipping. Ten says Henry is as good as any white person. Ten loses his leg in an accident at the sawmill, and they move to Baxley, but leave their son Henry to live in the cabin at the Dean's house. The town is making a big deal about a big tent revival. Nani tells her sister Bess that she is pregnant. Nani is having fears that the white world is pulling Tracy away from her while he is at the big tent revival. Bess wants Nani to have an abortion. When Nani waits by the gate for Tracy, It is her brother Ed who shows up. After he goes into the house, they embrace. Tracy and Nani begin to get cozy, but Tracy can't keep from having his thoughts about white people would say about him with an African American woman. So he leaves her at the arbor by the railroad tracks. Nani recalls a conversation he had with his father. His father wants him to work and to marry Dorothy. Tracy is torn between his love for Nani and the expectations that he imagines white people have for him. In the next scene, Mr. Stevenson is trying to talk Dr. Dean into giving his daughter Grace an abortion, but Dr. Dean won't do it. Instead, he gives Mr. Stevenson a referral. Later on, Dr. Dean is torn between his want to do the right thing and his concern for Grace Stevenson. He decides to confide in his wife, Alma. Alma Dean wants Laura to return to the university to get her doctorate degree. Sam and Ed drive over to Bill Talley's house because Aunt Sen has rheumatism. Sam is sort of self-proclaimed doctor of slaves. He goes about tending to the sick like he knows what he's doing. They find Aunt Sen inside. She is cold, so they put her outside in the hot summer sun. Then they are off to visit the Rushtons. Ed keeps on having memories of his mother. Sam and Ed talk about which white people they despise and which ones they like. In Chapter 12, Tracy becomes a member of the local church and Dorothy always sits with him at the church. Tracy goes over to her house and sits on the porch. He tells her that he is going to buy her a ring. He then goes home to talk to his mother. He asks his mother for $300. He then goes out for a walk at night and buys himself a pint of whiskey. He drinks this while sitting on the steps of the church. He goes over to see Nadia and he is drunk and very rude to her. He verbally abuses her. She runs away from him. Tracy walks home and spends the night in Henry's cabin. There is a party at Nani's house, which is owned by the Andersons. A girl named Desi is there and she dates Henry. Tracy shows up at the party and meets Nani out behind the house. Nani tells Tracy not to bother her because it is Ed's party. Tracy leaves just before Ed comes outside. Then Henry shows up at the party and takes Desi with him. When they are walking home, he pulls her close to him, but she resists and he accidentally tears her dress. The next day she goes to Miss Bell's house to have it repaired. She paid $3 to have it repaired by Miss Bell. Henry and Ed are in the same restaurant and Henry is bragging about having $100. They ask him where he got it and he says he has a private bargain with Tracy Dean. Ed hears this and wonders what is going on. They continue to ask him why he got the $100 and he tells them that Tracy gave it to him so that he would marry Nani Anderson. Ed hears this and punches Henry in the jaw. Henry stumbles, hits the counter, and falls on the floor. Ed leaves in a furious rage. Then Bess and Nani come home from Bible study at the Livingston's house. Tracy meets her at the gate and tells her that it has been a sin for him to sleep with her. He says he has changed and tells her that he is engaged to Dorothy. He tells her he has arranged for Henry to marry her. Suddenly, Nani hears shots ring out. Ed has shot Tracy Dean. In the next scene, Desi is over at Henry's cabin. Desi wants to get married. Henry doesn't want to. Thank you for watching Vlog 6.5, the extended version of Vlog 6.